Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. We're doing the CFS 6 months look ahead for today's second video. So, once a month we get the long-range CFS seasonal model out of mothballs, and we have a look at what it's showing for the whole of the run, and that is for the whole of 6 months' time. So the video does exactly what the name says on the tin. We're going to go 6 months ahead with the long-range CFS V2 model, and it is just for fun. The first couple of months, if the model is working correctly, then there is some scientific sort of basis about what we're doing. But as we go to 3, 4, 5, and 6 months away, so that's in the realm of being just for fun. The model will look very different, most likely, next month when we do next month's CFS 6. So it's a snapshot. It gives you an idea of what model is showing at the moment for the next 6 months, but don't please take the update too seriously. It is just to be taken with a pinch of salt and have a bit of a laugh at, essentially, other than months 1 and 2. Months 1 and 2 for this update will be July and August, so we will get an idea of what model is expected going to happen for kind of like the rest of the summer. But as you get through to the autumn, actually going to go to December, final month of 2018, with this CFS 6 and again, as we get to that range, then, of course, it's just a snapshot. So, I'll go with that you for a moment. Just say that today's first video was a weekend forecast. That video is here on the homepage. Just scroll down the page a little bit, and you'll find it above the pollen count. There's also the written version, and you get to that from the buttons at the top of the page. And thanks very much for doing that. So we'll begin by having a look at the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly for July. So this is just 1 month away, and if everything's working as it should be, then this ought to be the most reliable part of all of this. So we find that the 700 millibar height anomaly for July is placing an area of above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, so a bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge. If you go to this side of the chart, there is a little bit of above average heights across eastern parts of Europe. Otherwise, not much else going on. Actually, not much else to go on. And we may have a little bit of a dip within the 500 millibar flow there. It's not a particularly pronounced trough at the moment within the 500 millibar flow, but the pattern does look considerably different compared to what we've had over the past few months. So since April and through May and through June, we've had a lot of anticyclonic influences very, very close to the country. At the moment, the CFS is not really showing that for July. And whilst it isn't placing a trough within the 500 or the 700 millibar flow across the UK and northwestern Europe, it does look rather different, that, compared to what we've had recently. I suspect if it came off, it would probably be a rather more unsettled and maybe cooler month than we've had for a little while. And then we go through to August, month 2, and again, the pattern looks very, very different. This time we've got above average heights centering themselves well to the north of the country. I'm not sure this is terribly good news, to be honest, for our late summer prospects, because we're taking the ridge up there, and you'll notice the centre, or I suppose I should say, the highest heights are around Iceland, and then again, I suppose, around Svalbard. If we've got above average heights going on in that part of the world, then what would tend to happen in the summer is you'll tend to place a trough of low pressure underneath it across sort of northwestern parts of Europe. So a bit of a question mark about that. The model doesn't show a trough underneath that blocking feature to the north, but when you've got above average heights that far north, it's not normally a very good sign. If you're sent from over Scandinavia in August, it can be quite hot, actually, because easterly winds in the summer tend to be quite hot, especially late summer. But that's a bit too far north for that eventuality. So if you get the high pressure going even further north than Scandinavia, normally it's a bad sign, because normally you'll be running the jet stream through, and you'll have a trough within the jet stream, and you'll normally have a trough of low pressure centering around northern Europe. So I'm not sure. Both of those months do sort of hint that we may be looking at a front-loaded summer here. We may be looking at most of the dry and warm weather in June, and then the patterns deteriorating through July and August. But let's wait till we have a look at the temperature and precipitation anomalies. That's September, and a bit of a battle going on in September. We've got this deep area of below average height setting up around Greenland and Iceland. We've also got a ridge over towards Scandinavia, and that ridge is sort of pushing down into the UK. So the ridge is trying to bring us an easterly flow, but the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic will be trying to bring us westerly. So that's a 50-50 type situation. Could go either way, and as it's month 3, it's a long way off, so very slight adjustments will make a big difference to the kind of weather that we end up with there. I think it is depicting the chance of a little bit of a battle, however, with the trough in the Atlantic trying to bring autumnal conditions in off the ocean, and the ridge, high pressure over Scandinavia, trying to ward that off. Moving through to October, the pattern becomes very different again. This is month 4 now, so we are in the realm of just for fun, really, at this point. We've got below average heights close to the UK. Above average heights have pulled back into kind of like the northwestern Atlantic. And we have the flow coming through like that. So it looks rather unsettled in October. Actually, obviously, what happens is that the trough eventually breaks through, but we have in September, does break through. And so by the time you get through to October, we're into an autumnal type pattern there, with maybe some quite wet weather moving in from off the Atlantic. That's November, month 5, very, very long way out, just for fun, but it's got an area of below average heights to the north and to the northeast. Otherwise, not much ridging going on, and you'd think that the flow would probably be coming in from a northwesterly, west-northwesterly type direction. So that could be rather cool, actually, in November. It could be quite cold, maybe even pulling down some northerly influences at times. So maybe quite a cold and changeable month there, being hinted at anyway for November, maybe even with a chance some early winteriness. And then finally we're at month 6. We've gone through to December 2018, and the last month of the year looks like that. So below average heights again, very close to the country. We have got ridging down to our southwest, but it's actually displaced a little bit further south than you would expect it to be. So that's kind of like it's an unsettled month, though, definitely very unsettled, with below average heights coming in from the Atlantic. The general flow is from a west-southwesterly direction. What's going on up here, though, I'm not sure. If we have got some above average heights up there, then we might entrance some cooler air into that trough. But obviously it's too far away, that it's 6 months away. It's not worth spending too much time dwelling on it in any case. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies then. So we come back to July, and look at this. We've got a very different temperature profile being forecast for July by the CFS V2. So much of Western Europe is coming out average to a bit cooler than average in July. We've got warmer than average temperature anomalies across central and eastern parts of Europe, particularly eastern, southeastern areas. And I think it's just indicating a rather cooler month in July, a cool down to average, whilst it might still be warmer than June in the end in terms of its overall temperature anomaly, and in terms of its CET. It may well be that July is warmer than June overall, but compared to average, remember these are anomalies to average, compared to average, it may well be that July is a bit of a cool down month compared to June, really, that the warmest temperature anomaly occurs in June. I'm going to go through to August, and that looks quite cool as well, generally just depicting a rather cool scene here, average to a little bit cooler than average, really, across many parts of Europe. So the warmth that we've had through this early summer period looks like it's just draining away, draining out of the atmosphere, if you like, with the CFS V2. We have got warmer than average temperature anomalies going on up here, you'll notice, around Greenland, Iceland, Svalbard. So that's telling us where the high pressure is, where we've got the blocking being signalled. exactly what kind of pattern we get will be determined in a moment when we look at the precipitation anomalies. But certainly from a temperature perspective, it does look as though this summer, as far as the CFS is concerned anyway, is cooling down as we're moving into the middle and the latter part of the summer. That's September, and that one also is looking rather fair to middling, you have to say, with its temperature anomaly too. So it's a bit warmer than average up towards Norway. It's warmer than average over towards Iceland. Southern Europe is coming out cooler than average. Elsewhere, we're just coming out with average temperature anomalies, but certainly not much sign of anything particularly warm happening in the next 3 months. That's October. Again, very weak signals as far as the temperature anomaly is concerned for October. It's warmer than average across northern Scandinavia. It's warmer than average over towards Iceland. Otherwise, generally just coming out close to average with the temperature anomaly in October. November, so that one is going warmer than average across Scandinavia and sort of the central eastern parts of Europe. Out in the west, actually it's a bit cooler. So again, possibly hinting at bringing down more of a northwesterly flow perhaps there, with average temperatures being predicted again in November. And then we go through to December, month 6 months away, just for fun. We see that we're beginning to establish a southwesterly type flow, or a west-southwesterly type flow. And so what happens then is that more parts of Europe start to turn warmer than average. Is that the beginnings of the CFS going for a warm winter? Well, wouldn't be overly surprised if it did. The CFS tends to be quite warm when it comes to its temperature forecast for the winter months anyway. So we will wait and see on that. We won't worry about the winter months, I don't think, until we get to around September. And then finally, we just have a look at the precipitation anomalies. So this is how July's precipitation is shaping up. So it's not too bad actually in July. There's a lot of dry weather going on here across central and northern parts of Europe. So although, yes, it is seeing a cooler temperature anomaly in July compared to what we've had for the last few months, actually precipitation looks more or less in line with what we've had recently, coming out drier than average through the UK, through Ireland, through much of northern and central Europe. A lot of drier than average weather going on. The wettest anomalies to average down across southern parts of Europe again, which is something that we've seen quite a lot of over the last few weeks and months. So it's a little bit of a puzzle, this, really, July. It is still going for a substantially drier than average month for the UK, but it's also going for a rather cooler month compared to what we've had recently. I'm not sure why it's doing that, because obviously it is still thinking that's going to be quite a lot of anticyclonic weather, and we're not particularly bothered by the jet stream either. So if it's as dry as that, you would probably expect it to be a relatively warm month as well. Although you can get dry and cool, it is a combination you can get in the summer. It's quite unusual to get that, but it can happen that you set up a dry but cool summer month. And then we're into August, and this looks a little bit more alarming in terms of a precipitation perspective anyway. So in August, yes, many parts of the UK and Ireland are coming out rather wetter than average. Large parts of Western Europe as well, southern France down to northern Spain, coming out wetter than average. You'll notice up here it's drier than average towards Scandinavia. So again, it tells us where that blocking feature is likely to be sitting. I do think that with the high pressure that far north, remember the high pressure is kind of like up here and up there and up there, with high pressure in that area, I do think that it is quite likely that we might set up a trough across western parts of Europe. If that happens, then it's a poor end to the summer in August. Through to September. So in September, we've got a real battle going on. You'll remember, we've got low pressure taking place up here. We've got low pressure deepening around Greenland and Iceland, but we have got quite a strong blocking feature towards Scandinavia. So the low pressure is trying to bring the jet stream and trying to essentially bring autumn in from off the Atlantic, but the ridge is trying to keep summer going across the UK and northern Europe with those easterly winds. So it's a case of let battle commence, and we would just have to wait and see which which sort of driver, whether it's the block or the trough or the ridge of the trough, we just have to wait and see which driver gets the ascendancy. That's a battle type month going on in September. And then we get through to October. This will look rather more unsettled, you'll remember. So generally much of northwest Europe is coming out a little bit wetter than average, although it does see some drier than average conditions there through Scotland, northern England. I'm not sure about that. I think overall October hints at being a rather more unsettled month, particularly compared to September. That's November, so in November we've got below average heights around here. And then presumably setting up a bit of a northwest alignment with the jet stream. So actually much of northern, central, eastern Europe is coming out wetter than average during November. The northwest looks a little bit drier, probably quite a cool month as well, I would have thought, in November. And then we get through to December. And yes, we've gone into a wetter than average month in December with returning the westerlies and the southwesterlies. So it's just a case that many parts of Europe are coming out a bit wetter than average in December, particularly so these northwestern parts of Europe coming out wetter than average once again. A warm and wet start to the winter of 2018-19, but we won't worry about that at this stage. Coming back, let's come back to the summer. So that's the most reliable part of all of this, hopefully. So July is a puzzle because it's weakened the above average height anomaly, but it's still going for a drier than average month, quite substantially so. But it's lowered the temperatures, so quite what we make of July. I'm not sure. It may be going for a ridge to be centred just to our west, perhaps, and pulling him a flow down in a northwest-southeast alignment. So that will probably lead us to a drier than average month, but cooler, particularly compared to what we've had recently. Then August does look rather worrying. It has been the case for a while. It's been consistently signalled by the CFS that in August we get quite a pronounced deterioration. We take the heights, the above average heights, we push them a long way north, and we probably set up a trough underneath it. So August ends the summer on a rather cool and soggy note. And then into the autumn months, it looks rather changeable actually for the autumn months, I think, although we probably have a fairly dry start in September, but I think taking the three as a whole, rather cool and changeable is the autumn months, and then we won't worry about December. So, right, that's the CFS 6 months look ahead for June. Next month, July CFS 6 months look ahead will take us, can you believe this? It'll take us from August through to January 2019. Time never stands still in the world of Gav's weather vids. So we will be progressing on to the start of a new year. In next month's CFS 6 months look ahead, and again, of course, that will be just for fun. Don't forget to check out the weekend forecast and tomorrow. So we've got some autumn analogues coming up. We'll also have the Gazzo Sunny Roundup, and we're going to have a look at the ECMWF and Meteo France long-range models for the rest of the summer and also the autumn too. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.